Well, hello, it's me, your wildest dream, your worst nightmare, and Canoness Jubilee.
The Sisters of Battle Codex is here, and I want to talk about it.
So a local player reached out and said that he wanted to get a game in against the new Sisters Codex. And this player and I have some history. No, not romantic history. This isn't Warlords to Lovers, as good of a trope as that would be. But this opponent regularly, thoroughly kicks my ass, and that's not a surprise. He's definitely one of the local club's most skilled players. He's also a fantastic opponent. Even when he's completely destroying your army, he's very fun to play against. So weirdly, I was more tense because I was afraid I was going to give him a bad game. Because the codex just came out. All the data sheets are new, all the rules are new, everything's new, and I've only played 2 games with it so far. I was playing the Army of Faith detachment. Their detachment rule is that they can do 2 acts of faith instead of 1 per unit per phase. But the main thing that's really interesting is the stratagems. This detachment has stratagems that when they're used on a jump pack, unit, it becomes an aura rather than just affecting the 1 unit. Now, this is not an ability I've managed to use with any real effectiveness, but it is a possibility. Mainly, the stratagems are just really good. You can get +1 AP, you can get Lance on a charge, and you can get -1 to hit. And the -1 hit is one of those that can become an aura. My opponent was playing the Dark Angels, and his list was super elite. He had Deathwing Knights, he had the Lion, he had 2 units of Deathwing Knights, some Hellblasters, some bikes. In fact, he was joking while setting it up that this was a more Custodes elite list than even Custodes usually plays. Now, the Sisters rules are very good, but they also went up a lot in points. And I'm not going to complain about it because I think it's basically fine. Repentia increasing 70 points to 180 might be the only thing that I truly complain about. So my opponent gets to go first, and he plays really cagey. Like, most of his units stay behind cover, stay inside of ruins. And I'm used to him playing like Wolf Jail, so I'm not sure if this is just like a new strategy or a new way to play, or if he was scared of Sisters. Probably didn't need to be. So we both deploy really cagey, and then our first couple of turns are honestly pretty cagey. One of the big turns of the day was the unit of Deathwing Knights failing a pretty big charge, and then the Lion failing a not very big charge, kind of leaving them out in the open. There's some good pot shots being taken. I had a random unit of Dominions manage to take out a couple of Deathwing Knights. While the clapback was insane, the Canoness in a unit of Zephyrim did manage to take out several of the Inner Circle companions. And they get just absolutely schmacked by, Deathwing Knights heroically intervening. Y'all, that stratagem went down to 1 CP, and that is a game changer now. Watch out for it. So rather than deal with Lionel Johnson's goddamn 3-up invulnerable save, Jesus fucking Christ, I decided to focus on everything around it. He's very scary in melee, but there was a big unit of Hellblasters here. There used to be a unit of Deathwing Knights right there also. But Morven Vol comes in, does some shooting, does some charging, wipes out a unit of Deathwing Knights. A Smash Canoness, it's kind of hard to see, but she's right there, charged in and finished off all but one of the last Hellblasters. And there was actually a pretty big, we were talking about it afterwards, but there was a bit of a misplay right here, because he decided to leave the last Hellblaster in combat. At the bottom of round 2, I managed to score pretty heavily on primary, and I actually kept him off of any primary. My Seraphim were able to drop into the backfield and move shoot in order to scoot on to his home objective, stealing that from him. The Castigator and some Retributors were able to take out all of the Inner Circle companions. Azrael was still survived, but the tank was able to take the point from him over there. The center objective had a bunch of Sisters on there and just no way for him to take it back from me there. And I can't believe I didn't get a picture of this, but a unit of Repentia charged out of a Rhino, wiping out some bikes on the 3rd point. So he's honestly running out of resources. There's 4 or 5 Deathwing Knights threatening the Castigator on the first point I showed back there. But because the Seraphim had swooped in back there, he had to move a land speeder back there, and some scouts had to drop in there. His other deep strike threat had to come in on a point to try to take it away from me. And realistically, there wasn't anything threatening the Repentia. Now, I spoke earlier about the misplay of leaving that one Hellblaster in combat with the girls right there. Because what happened next was a combination of very good rolling and a very good army roll in this kind of edge case here. Because the Lion's like 6 or 7 inches away from them, so he's got to move up to not have it be a risky charge. Because if he doesn't charge in and destroy, he needs to charge in and destroy as many of the Paragon War suits, or they're just going to pick him up next turn. he and I were talking afterwards, and he said if he had left the one Hellblaster there out of combat and charged first, then I wouldn't be able to Overwatch the Lion when it moved closer. Overwatch only hits on 6, but I have full rerolls with Morven Val's unit, and I can use 2 Acts of Faith, 2 6s. This is a bad place to do it, but in this case was a good idea. I pulled 2 6s out of my Miracle Dice, plugged them in, rolled 3 or 4 more 6s with the full rerolls on just the multi-meltas. Insane saves went through, but 2 shots got through. 1 did 7 damage and 1 did 4 damage, taking the Lion out. At that point, he had 3 scouts, 1 Hellblaster, 1 vehicle, and a small smattering of Deathwing Knights way up in one quarter, and reached across the table and conceded the game. He had 3 units left, and I had 6 or 7, which just was not enough to get any objectives done, and Morven Val was right there. Morven Val would pick up anything that showed up towards the middle of the board. For secondaries, he was able to do Cleanse, but Marked for Death was one of the new secondaries, was just undoable for him. What you do with that one is I get to pick 3 units, and if he manages to destroy one of them, then he gets 5 points. Basically, I was able to look at 3 units that he had no way to even get to and say, these are my 3. I feel like Sisters are in a really good place. There's, of course, been some doom and gloom because the point increases are really high, but we're kind of a little bit elite now. We're like medium elite. It feels very similar to the beginning of the edition, where you kind of like it when your units get destroyed, but you're also like, those are very precious. Less chaff to throw away for cheap Miracle Dice. But I'm excited. I'm going to try to fine-tune this list because I think this is the detachment. Although I'm really excited about, honestly, Hollowed Martyrs, the index one. It has a bit easier to use army rule, and it has pretty good stratagems as well. Thank you all for watching. If you like these longer form videos, there's a playlist of other battle reports right down here. And this is Canon as Jubilee of Our Order of the Hallowed Mummy, signing off. Bye!